Hi, my name is Fawn. I'm a gallery artist, and today I'm going to tell you a little about myself and how I got into the arts. Like most kids, I was into anything craftsy and coloring wise. I was still into art in middle school, but I wasn't thinking a whole lot about it because I was also really interested in music. I do, however, still have some of my art from middle school. So like this one I think I made in the 7th grade, maybe. When I got into high school, I knew that I wanted to be an artist, but I did not think that it was a viable career option for me. Because of that, I decided that I was going to take every single art class that I could and enter pretty much every single competition that I could while I was in high school, because I thought that was going to be the last time that I was ever going to really be able to experience being in the arts world. Freshman year, I took Pre-AP Art 1, but I did not enter in any of the art shows or competitions. Sophomore year, I decided to take Pre-AP Art 2, and I chose to enter some of my work into the local art shows that they were having with my high school. One of those art shows is called VASE, which stands for Visual Arts Scholastic Event, and it looks a bit different these days than it did when I took it like 8 years ago. Back when I participated in VASE, you were allowed to enter 2 pieces into the competition. You would all bring your work into this one high school. All of these other schools would come, and then you would have to do an interview with the judges explaining your piece. And then at the end of the day, they would lay everybody's pieces out on the gym floor and put a score of 1 to 4 on your pieces. 4 was the very best. It meant that your work was really good. 3 was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but you have some improvement, and so on and so forth. So sophomore year, I entered a still life that was kind of abstract, and then I also entered a self-portrait. In fact, it was this self-portrait. This got a score of 3, and I remember being very upset about it because of how hard I had worked on the self-portrait, but like, be real now. This does not look like me. Now that I'm older, I totally understand why it was a score of a 3. Junior year rolls around, and I decided that I'm going to be taking Drawing 3 and doing an AP portfolio class where I was going to be working on 24 pieces for a 2D design portfolio. As far as art competitions go, I entered in 3 different competitions. The first one was VASE. I had 2 pieces in that. Both of them scored 4s, so I was a double medalist. Then I entered a painting into the UNT Health Science Show, and I got 2nd place in painting that year. And finally, I had a painting that was a part of the Texas Congressional Art Show, and that one got Juror's Choice. Senior year rolls around, and I decide to do another AP portfolio. This time it's the drawing portfolio, and then I also did a ceramics class. I did my final VASE competition with 2 more art pieces. This was one of the pieces that I took to VASE. Both of them ended up scoring a 4, so I was a double medalist again. Also, quick kudos to me for getting so much better at portraits. I also entered my art in something that I'm gonna have to read off screen because it's just so incredibly long. It is the Texas Arts Education Association's Youth Art of the Month Capital Celebration. So for that one, I did have this piece shown in the state capital of Texas, and then also in the Bob Bullock Texas State Museum. So I got to go to Austin for the reception for that, and that was a lot of fun. And then my last art competition in high school was called TVAA, also known as the Texas Visual Arts Association. At the end of my senior year, I got awarded the Outstanding Fine Arts Award by my art department from our district, and that was really cool, but also really bittersweet because by the end of my senior year, I was 100% positive that I was not going to be an artist. I didn't think it was a viable career. I didn't think it was something that was achievable for me, so I didn't apply to any art schools. I decided to go to this teeny tiny school in Texas and be a psychology major. And then I had like a 3-year gap where I did still make art, but it was on the side for myself. I didn't participate in like any art competitions, and I had pretty much given up on the arts. My final year in college came up, and I had decided that I wanted to have this little art show thing just as like a way to remember my years there and kind of have a good send-off from my school. So I proposed this teeny tiny art exhibit to one of the admins that I knew. He talked it over with some other people, and they were like, yeah, sure, make some paintings, show your work during graduation week. I'm happy that I did it though, and as far as I'm aware, I believe it's a part of their permanent collection in the alumni office. So in 2022, after graduating, I moved to Fort Worth, Texas. I saw that there was an open call for a juried art show and I applied. And then I get an email saying I was accepted. This was the first juried art competition I had ever been in as an adult, and it was like, wow, I actually got in. I'm hanging out, I'm not doing much, I'm painting for myself, and I think, well, maybe every once in a while I can join an art exhibit and that'll be fun on the side. And then one day I see that a local art gallery is looking for artists. And when I tell you that applying for that art gallery completely changed the direction of my life and my career, I mean that with every ounce of myself. So I figured, okay, I've done 2 art things. It wouldn't hurt to just apply and see what happens. At this point, I was not super confident in my work or myself as an artist, so I figured more than likely I was gonna apply and then never hear back from these people. Well, a couple of days go by and I get an email saying, hey, we like your stuff. We want to schedule an interview with you. Can you call and set up this appointment? I call and the owner is very nice. I set up the interview. I go to the interview and I was largely underprepared because I didn't go to art school. There were a lot of terms that I had no idea about. I had no idea what an artist statement was or a curriculum vitae or a lot of other things that I probably should have known going into this interview. But what I did have was professionalism. But I had sat down and made a full resume of every single art experience in class I had ever taken to try and back up myself as an artist. Like, yeah, I don't have very many adult art experiences. I have never been a part of a gallery before, but I did enter all of these art competitions in high school. Does this count for anything? After the interview, the gallery owner was like, yeah, we would love for you to join. I said, awesome, great. And then I did something that I should have never ever done, but thank God it turned out okay. As I was leaving, I told the owner, oh, like, I just want you to know if it doesn't work out, like if my stuff doesn't sell, I have no problem with that. We'll be good between us. Like, I'm not gonna hold it against you. And she told me, don't say that. Which, please guys, even if you're not confident in your work, you cannot say stuff like that to people who are interested in your work. That is just a horrible thing to say. I joined the gallery. A few days after that, I put up all my stuff. They had like the grand opening of this new gallery and I sold quite a few pieces. At first January that I was ever with the gallery, I sold 9 paintings and I restocked my wall a few times just because there were huge gaps otherwise. And that boosted my confidence so much because beforehand, I didn't think that anybody liked my art except for occasionally me if I was having a good day. Having sold 9 paintings in the first month that I was with this gallery, I was like, wow, this might be something that I could actually do. This might be something that is achievable. Most of my paintings were being sold for super cheap because I didn't know how to price things, and the majority of them were for sale for under $60, I want to say. My first year with the gallery, I sold 41 original paintings, a handful of prints, and a handful of little ornaments and stuff like that. I was a part of 2 group shows within the gallery on top of being a resident artist. I joined the Texas Artist Coalition and was a part of one of their landscape exhibits. And then I also did the annual Merle Knox art show that was one of the ones that I had done the year prior. By the end of my first year with the gallery, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do any other job. I wanted to be an artist. I was a resident artist at this gallery. I had done 4 different group shows with various people across the year, and I had sold 41 original paintings that year, which meant that people obviously had an interest in my work. We decided that my first solo show was going to be in November of 2024, which meant that I had almost a full year to work on all of the art that I needed to make for that show. And that was very much so needed because of the type of show that it was. I was not just making landscape paintings, I was making landscape paintings out of dirt, which meant that I had to go get the dirt, had to have people bring me the dirt, had to refine it and turn it into paint, and then I could finally make the paintings. I was really busy with my solo show for the majority of 2024, but the reception went super good. Turns out people are really interested in dirt. So because I was so busy with my solo show, I didn't do as many outside shows. I did one group exhibit with the gallery, and from my solo show, I ended up selling 13 different original paintings and a lot of different prints. So my second year with the gallery, I also sold, surprisingly, 41 pieces. As I previously shared, I knew for sure by then that I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to do that as my full-time gig. But the life that I saw for myself would be that by next year, this current year, I was going to be a full-time artist. So in August, I left my previous job. I started into the arts full-time. This is the part that I feel like can get kind of controversial. A lot of people will have a lot of opinions about it. I'm not gonna get into specifics of money just because that's not everybody's business. Again, when I first started out selling my stuff, a lot of my originals were sold under $60, but I will say now that my smallest pieces are sold for $115 or higher. There are some artists out there that make 300 grand off of their art every single year, but they still have a desk job because that provides them with a sense of security. When you are an artist, unless you are working with a company that gives you a salary, there are going to be ups and downs in how much you're making. And being an artist who just makes money off of art is not for everybody. I would highly encourage you that if you're thinking about being an artist, either have a day job or a side job or some kind of supplementary income until you actually make enough money to pay for all your stuff, or have savings saved up before you just quit your job, or have a supportive partner or family member that can help take care of you in case there's big expenses that come up. Most businesses don't break even and start making money until after their 5th year of being open. If art is a business, we can't expect artists to break even the first time that they ever do anything to sell art. So, 2024, I had my first solo show, and I also started diversifying some of my art stuff a little bit. I did 2 art markets. This year, I am planning on doing more art markets. I'm already signed up for my first one. I already have an idea of one that I want to do in October. I also am having art in more places. I have my stuff in one main gallery, but I'm also selling some of my work in a local coffee shop. I got invited and now have my work in a conference center near me. I'm going to be selling my work in Waco, Texas as well. And I'm also branching outside of my local area. A lot of people know these days that I function out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, but a lot of my work is based off of the Northwest and the Pacific Northwest. So I've also recently started branching out into different stores in PNW. One example of that is Big Whale Smalls or Big Whale Consortium. I have some of my art prints and stickers and different things up there in Seattle. 2025 is going to be my first year as a full-time artist, and I think it's technically like my 3rd year as a professional artist. I very much so feel like I'm finally kind of finding my niche. Yes, I made landscape paintings when I started with the art gallery, but I have much more of like an idea of what I like to do and what I want to be about. I don't just consider myself to be a landscape artist and that's it. I would consider myself to be more of a nature artist. That way I can do landscapes, wildlife, botanical things. I can also get into scientific illustration if I wanted to. I love gouache, I love watercolors. I still mostly use that, but I'm also not limiting myself to just those 2 mediums. And I'm getting more and more comfortable with being a miniature artist or a small works artist. A lot of people, for some reason, really want me to make super huge mega art on huge canvases that take up the entire wall and then want me to sell it for thousands of dollars. If that's you, no judgment. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you enjoy, that's perfectly fine. I don't enjoy that. My heart is not as much about the money as it is having my art be something that people can enjoy. That's why even though I have increased my prices over time, I don't feel comfortable charging like $3 grand for something that's super duper tiny. That's also why I sell prints, is because I want art to be something that's accessible to people. I'm also looking into artist residencies. These are different than resident artist. Resident artist could be you are one of the main artists at this gallery. Artist residency is this is a location, they host you and provide supplies and different funds for you to come make stuff and be inspired. I'm also trying to pair the scientific, conservation, animal refuge type things with more of the art stuff, because even though I am an artist, I love science. And I would really love for my practice to combine those two things to be, yes, beautiful, but also a little bit educational. So that's a little bit about me and my journey in working in the arts. I guess I would be considered like a self-taught artist because I don't have an art degree, and my path looks a little bit different than the paths of some other people. Just know you can say you're never gonna do something. Like I said, I was never going to be an artist, and then you end up doing that thing. I don't believe in fate or destiny, but in some aspects, I feel like if you were made or meant to do something, your life is going to be easier doing that thing than it is fighting it. If you have any questions about me or my work, I would love to hear them. You can comment them. But other than that, I will see you next time.